So hello everyone, Bella and Adela here again. Today we are going to talk about the Capricorn Gates. I know Capricorn is going to an end, but we were like, let's make a recap. Maybe it helps for those who've been contemplating the Capricorn activations. So in the beginning, we'll speak about the Capricorn, like the generic parts of the Capricorn sign, and then enter into the gates or the keys that activate it, because you'll see the Capricorn has so many different languages and is one of the signs that I think leaves us with a lot of pleasant surprises. So preparing to enter the Aquarius season, but contemplating still a bit the Capricorn. Do you have Capricorn activations too?
I have the 38, so when we get to that gate, we can speak about it. I think one of the things that I would like to ask you about when it comes to Capricorn is that it's feminine, but often when we think about it on the where it's on the wheel, the quarter it's in, it's the outer, it's society, it's structures, it's a lot of responsibility, it's our vocation or our profession. So how would you say that goes together with it being feminine? There is something there where it's easier to think about actually Cancer on the other side, for example, is feminine, or Taurus, which is another earth sign that's more feminine. How can we think about Capricorn as feminine?
Nice point. You always surprise me. Capricorn is definitely a sign that surprised me a lot. So I would start with the image. If you think about how the Capricorn looks, like the sign of it, is it a goat? Is it a creature of the sea? No one knows what the symbol, astrologically speaking, is. So I think Capricorn comes with this mystery, and the mysterious realm is part of the feminine nature. So I think it's whenever we start looking at Capricorn, we have to approach it from two sides. The realistic side, it's like a feminine energy that's realistic, but it also has this mysterious side of the waters, deep waters in it. So yeah, it's nice you pointed it out, and I think that helps a lot of people who have Capricorn placements, because many of my clients are like, I'm not rigid, I'm not all that structured. So I think it will make them like, oh, finally someone said it. So I would start contemplating the symbol. What does the symbol look for you? What does the goat, that the mountain goat, mean to you? But what does the tail of the abyss of the water mean to each of you? That's what I feel, a combination between stuff you can see and understand, and the realistic part of Capricorn, and the mystery no one will know about this sign. It's interesting you said your south node is here, because I guess you will bring a lot of wisdom from your south node. Many people ask me about the nodes recently, so I think you having the south node here will be very interesting, bringing awareness. So let's start with the Capricorn. I would like to present some general stuff about Capricorn, and the first I would like to start with is the planet that is associated with Capricorn, Saturn. And Saturn was, as Capricorn is, was a huge surprise for me. Last year I did a Romanian course about Saturn, and while preparing my material, I was absolutely fascinated by Saturn, because I started with that idea that Saturn is rigid and difficult and will kick it and will make us suffer. And I discovered that Saturn is quite a wise energy. And what I would invite everyone watching here to think about Saturn and Capricorn when you contemplate this too, is the duality. This is what stayed with me very strongly. Saturn is associated with Janus, the godhead that looks, has one face in a direction and the other face in another direction. And Saturn, I think, invites us to look in the past and in the future in the same time. And that is a superpower I think this placement has. So try to look at your Saturn activations again. What key do you have there? If you make a channel with that key or that gate, and try to look at it in a new perspective. I think it's a very broad way of looking on reality. So yes, I would start with Saturn, looking at Saturn and this duality, this inner duality it has. And the second part about Saturn is the relationship with time. And when we talk about Capricorn and Saturn, we have to understand that it will take time to develop. So the placements we have there mature late. We need patience, and we need to just believe in that. It's like a line 6 of the placements. It takes a lot of time, so we can't rush our Capricorn placements. The place where you have Capricorn in your chart is a placement that takes time to develop. It brings results in time. When I work with the Capricorn energy, I like to look at it as an alchemist, more like a sorcerer. I find it to be a continuation, maybe a mastery of the Scorpio energy. I always looked at these two signs as very alchemical and with a lot of powers. For me, Capricorn is a master alchemist. It's when it becomes so wise and so powerful, it's like it has the power to bend time in a way. And that's like the ultimate mastery, I think. And I saw it with people with a lot of Capricorn placements, even Capricorn rising. A lot of them age very well. They look better at 40 or 50 or 60. And you're like, how did that happen? So I always look at Capricorn placements as a very strong alchemical energy, even a priest or priestess energy, as we were speaking a bit about it.
I feel like I have learned more about Capricorn by looking at the gates like we're going to do today, because what I feel with Capricorn is actually my grandmother's birthday today. She's, I think, 97. And if there's one thing I know about her is that she's very stubborn, and everybody in the family knows that she's very stubborn. And I'm a Taurus. So there is something interesting too with Taurus and Capricorn together, because it's a little bit of different kind of stubbornness. I like what you're saying, the wisdom. With the earth sign, it's a connection to the ancestors, to the wisdom. It just feels like grounded in the Capricorn. Whatever they are about is grounded and you can trust it. It gives us nuance when we're looking at the gates like we're going to do today. The only Capricorn that I know from I'm a child is my grandmother. And she's kind of typical in the sense, like what you're saying, the archetype that we think about, but there is so much more. When you are saying priestess energy, I often think more about the mutable earth energy that we find in Virgo, because that's how I feel like the feminine, the Shakti, it's always moving. And Capricorn is cardinal energy, so it's a little bit different. That can also be interesting today if you share more about it, so I can feel like, oh, Capricorn, can that be priestess energy? I want to hear more about that.
Thank you. So yep, we'll dive in the gates. Happy birthday to your grandmother. I think she's a good example of a Capricorn living well to her 100th birthday. This is what Capricorns do, age well. The cardinal part is related to action. And I think many of the Capricorn placements are related to taking actions. Capricorn is a very autonomous sign. They do stuff for their own being. So Capricorn is an ambitious sign and a dynamic cardinal sign that does stuff. If you want stuff done, call a Capricorn. So it's not necessarily a priestess energy in the sense of immersing into nature like the Virgo does, but it can be the priestess that knows how to do stuff and when to do stuff. And it's a very pragmatic type of priestess that works with money too. A rich priestess.
I feel responsibility there, and that's where we make money. And then it's almost like the Taurus energy decides how to save money, what to do with it once we've made it in the Capricorn energy.
We'll start with the gate or the key, the activation number 10.
What I do really love with this one is that we had a lot of different people, and maybe you were one of them, who were giving us art. This is portraits of them. So here we kind of see a little bit more of that earth priestess element that you were speaking about, I feel. And here we have more of the symbol that you were also speaking about.
10 is on the cusp. It finishes the Sagittarius and enters into the Capricorn. So all the gates or key being on the cusp have a kind of dual energy in them. Till they settle, it's a bit, they have a bit of both. So 10 goes from self-obsession to naturalness and being, the three frequency bands, and the programming partner is the 15, which is a bit Gemini, a bit Cancer, also on the cusp. And I like that you showed portraits, because I think 10 is one of the activation that speaks a lot about the connection with the self. It is in the G center, and it's a lot about exploring the self and understanding the self. And I think it's that Capricorn energy that likes to understand how they can be a model for others, a model of just being, and of being natural, and of owning who you are. I think it's one of the relaxed, very relaxed energies. It's an earth sign, Capricorn. So I think here it finds that it starts feeling that earth energy in it. It's part of the ring of humanity. And here we have more Capricorn activations that are on the ring of humanity. And maybe that's one of the reasons Ashley chose the first part, the ring of humanity, because 10, I find 10 to be a role model in a way, and a key related to identity, but it is also the contribution you can bring as a role model by just being and by your presence in the world. And Capricorns do that along a lot of times. They are here to express who they are in society and be a part of society and bring contribution. What I find really interesting about gate 10 or Gene Key 10, I think I was always fascinated how many channels it makes. So it makes channel with the 20, it makes channel with 57, it makes channel with 34. So it's one of the activation that I think surprises us by versatility. At least this is what surprised me, how versatile and how adaptable naturalness can be. And I think we can see that here. It's a versatile Capricorn.
I think about the integration channels like you're speaking about in human design, and how it's connecting to the spleen, and it's connecting to the sacral, and it's connecting to the throat. And it has to do with our survival. It has to do with that, like you said, that adaptation that made us go from being animals to being walking humans. And for me, what I feel with a 10, if you know somebody has a 10, or if you have it, especially when you're out and about, like if you're in a restaurant, the 10 is naturally going to feel like, here's where I'm going to sit. It's this natural behavior in every moment. And it's just, it's nice to follow them. I have the 34 and the 57, which are part of that integration channels. So I always feel even more empowered than with just the 34 and the 57 when I'm with somebody with a 10, because it just feels like it's so natural wherever we go, and we adapt, but at the same time it feels like we are empowered by where we are.
I have the 10, and it's making my splits. Yeah, the 57 makes my split there. So here we have opal. It's the stone associated with 10. The next one is 58. The Gene Key 58 goes from the shadow of dissatisfaction to the gift of vitality and the city of bliss. The partner here is 52, and it's a very interesting dynamic, the 58 and the 52. I know a lot of people who have these two keys, and they are strong. They are very strong. It's part of the ring of seeking, one of my favorite rings. And I think 58 has such a way of looking for answers, and of sometimes it's like that dissatisfaction is also a motor for searching. It's like you're never satisfied with what you get, so you look for more, or you want more. And it's in the channel. This one makes one channel. It's in the channel with 18. And this is something I was writing when I was looking at the channels the Capricorn activations make. Some of them make channels with Libra keys. I don't know why. It's something I'm still contemplating. Why is the Capricorn energy looking for the Libra energy? What's there that helps? 57 is a Libra key, 18 is a Libra key, 32 is a Libra key. It's like there's a sacred partnership there. Yes, I think 58 is being in the root center and having this pressure to evolve. This is what I feel very strongly about 58. It can be so full of life, so dynamic, wanting to live a better life, wanting to find perfection. That is a Capricorn archetype. Capricorn is looking for the higher version of something, is looking for the better of what they have. And yeah, sometimes it can feel like dissatisfaction, like still it's not what it should be, but I think that's a motto, as I said. And here in 58, I think we can really feel that. I do have 58 one time or two times, so many times I feel that in my life, but the vitality here is, it's a very nice point. And I think it brings a new way of understanding the Capricorn. We don't have to look at Capricorns just as a sign that's old and sad and lethargic. No, Capricorns can be full of life and can bring change. The cardinal power you were mentioning brings a lot of change. And I think 58 is the one that brings a lot of change.
Everything you said, we see it here with the vitality, with nature, the earth element. I feel like it's almost the first fuels. The root has different fuels for different processes. And here we are in the logical circuitry. We are in the understanding circuit. And it goes, like you were saying, to the spleen and the 18. So here we have that channel of correction. And the cool thing with the 58 is that it has the energy to correct. They are here to kind of discern what doesn't work in the past, what's been spoiled, what doesn't work, what it is in our parents or the authorities that we should change. All that is seen by the 18, but it's really the energy, the fuel, the vitality to do so comes from the 58. So I see them really working together. And that is kind of where it starts. The whole logical process starts there, that then can be expressed and, you know, in the, for example, the 31-7. I do appreciate people that have the 52 and the 58 in their activation sequence. One of the crosses is the cross of service. So I feel this thing, the betterment, it's not just the betterment of me, it's like it's the betterment of we, and how can we move forward in the future in a way that is more constructive, in a way that is more vital, that is more joyous, that is more fun. For me, when I think about the 52 and the 58 together, I feel aliveness, even if the 52 has a lot to do with stillness, still like how it looks on the outside, it's very alive for me, and possibly because it is connected to the earth sign and Capricorn.
What I would like to add, as you were showing, I remembered about that, is the connection with the mountain. I know 52 is associated with the mountain, but I think the Capricorn energy has a lot to do with the mountain, because it likes to climb. Even metaphorically, if we speak about that. So I think here, and we'll see it also in 54, that energy to grow and to go higher and to evolve, it's very powerful here. And I think this particular programming partnership meeting here between 52 and 58 is like climbing a mountain. I look at 58 and see that guide that says, hey, you can do it, go, climb. So it's a very nice vital energy indeed. The mineral associated with it is apatite, and or apatite, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's so interesting. Like I thought about it, dissatisfaction and apathy in a way. So I was like, interesting name for the mineral here to help with the processes. Moving forward, we go to our definite favorite, 38. We have it both in our profile. So 38 moves from struggle, the shadow of struggle, to the gift of perseverance and the city of honor. The programming partner here is 39, a Cancer gate, and it's also on the ring of humanity, as 10 was. And the channel, it makes the channel with 28, which is a Scorpio key. So I think just thinking about Scorpio and Capricorn together brings a very, very powerful combination. We both have the channel. So I think it's, when you start speaking about it, it's like, okay. Here, 38, I find, is such a warrior. For me, 38 is that warrior that has to learn to fight for something and not against something. At least that was the huge lesson for me, because 38 has a lot of energy. It's also in the root center. It also feels that pressure in the body to evolve. And many times, if 38 doesn't channel that energy correctly, it will just fight for no reason. It can fight with a partner or fight with the society, or I don't know, fight against something. But when that energy is channeled into fighting for something, especially for a higher purpose or a higher good, it totally changes the inner the inner feeling. And I think life for people having this channel or having this gate is not necessarily easy. Sometimes it can be quite rough, but our response to that roughness, I think, is very important. If we can see the challenges life brings, and I think 39, the programming partner, keeps provoking bringing provoking challenges to us. If we change the way we see these patterns, and that's the time when perseverance comes. It's just being able to fight for what you think it's a higher fight that's worth fighting for. And Capricorn here, I think I always look at this gate or this activation. I think about the Asian warriors, that movies like Mulan, or that's the image I always have, with that kind of warrior that has to be an inner warrior first. And I was always inspired by that kind of discipline. And for me, it brings a lot of awareness in my body. Whenever I try to focus more on my body, and maybe dancing, working out, or doing stuff that discipline my inner warrior, I definitely feel better. How is it for you?
Yeah, I also have the 28 and the 38 together, so I can't really separate them. They are actually black on the black side and in the personality. For me, the only channel that I have that is just only personality. I feel Joan of Dark, or what's her name? I don't know in English, but I feel this, that kind of warrior, that it's a light warrior, but it's also physical. With this Capricorn energy, it's not afraid to take the horse and ride it. And I often say, and it's like a little bit jokingly, but I say, I can do it to the last drop of blood. If I'm on it, if it's worth it, I'll do it to the last drop of blood. And for me, that's normal. And I think even in my life, I've mistaken sometimes when people say, oh, but you just have to do your best. And for me, inherently, when somebody says you have to do your best, for me, it's like, it's to the last drop of blood. It's just the way that it thinks. But I feel that what you're saying because I also have the 39, I have the 38, 39, it's my nodal environment. So 38 is the south node and 39 is the north node. They are for me very much going together. So when I look at the Cancer energy, the 39 that says, it's all worth it for love. Liberation is going to happen. I'll stand here. I have my costume like a crab, like I'm strong enough to stand here for love. I'm strong enough to face anything. I'm strong enough to wait for you here, the 38, the Capricorn, while you go out in war. And I'll be here and I face you. Well, we go through it together. Like for me, it's such a beautiful couple in that sense. And then the 28 that really comes and says, yeah, we can go deep, we can go dark, but there has to be a purpose. So for me, they completely go together. I think there is something to say, because you were saying people have asked you about the nodes, and I think the fact that we have had a nodal change now very recently in Scorpio and Taurus, I feel like people suddenly, I haven't like felt a lot of other nodal shifts as strong as right now, and as many people that speak about it. So something about the nodes, when we look at our own nodes, or that maybe that's the first thing to say. It's something that if we speak about it from a human design perspective, this is something that we are attuned to. So if you have the 38 and the 39 in your nodes, you're going to be attuned to struggle. You're going to be attuned to see this warrior way of being around you. So for me, I feel like that's part of my perspective. And I always seem to be in the environment where people are working towards a purpose, and they aren't afraid of saying, okay, the flag is high and we're going towards this. Yeah, that's something about the nodes. I'm just going to show you the image. It kind of looks more like an energetic warrior almost. And I think I was doing a reading this week, and the woman was saying in her intake form, I have the 38, she had the 38.5 in her purpose. And then of course the 39.5 in her radiance. And she's like, I don't resonate with being this kind of warrior. But then I realized with the fifth line, what she is, she's really a vibrational warrior. That's what she is, but she doesn't need, because we know when we go from the first line to the sixth line, it becomes more and more subtle. So maybe if you have a fifth line, you're grounded in a vibrational leadership. It's not necessarily always with the elbows, but for me there is a very physical aspect as well with those, with the 38 and the gates that connect to it.
Yes, the peaceful warrior. I remember I was listening to Richard's contemplation about 38, and I think he was saying that 38 never gets to fight the real fight. Like you will never, well, never, I don't know, maybe one day, but you won't see 38 fighting physically. And this is why I do have this image of warriors or fighters who discipline a lot. Like it's like practicing yoga or practicing tai chi or practicing something, and you keep practicing, so your body can fight any moment, but you end up being a spiritual warrior with a very fit body, but a spiritual warrior. The mineral here is pyrite. I don't know. You translated. I don't know if I translated right. It's the gold one. It's a really nice one that has such nice structures. One of my definite favorites. So moving forward to 54. 54 is it has the shadow of greed, the gift of aspiration, and the city of ascension. It's my SQ. So I've always been very fascinated about this one, and I think each time I contemplate it or the transit is here, I have huge epiphanies. I love this. I love the key in the SQ, not just mine, but other people keys in the SQ. I value them very much. The programming partner here is 53. It's also a ring of seeking energy, so it also searches for something. And the channel, it makes a channel with 32. I think you have the 32. Do you have the 32? Yeah, you do. 32 being a Libra energy. And this activation, I think it's such a typical Capricorn energy. Typical, that kind of inner feeling that you want to go higher, get higher, be higher. And many times it can feel materialistic in a way, or it can, depending on the frequency band, it can be wanting more, and sometimes wanting more materially or wanting more for yourself. And some Capricorn archetypes can get trapped there in the materialistic part of it. But it is also wanting more on a spiritual side. And I think Capricorn has a huge spiritual potential. This is maybe why they are the wise old men. And I think they want to get and connect with the divinity in their own terms, and they do this kind of search, and they put the effort to go there high and to explore how high is the high. So 54 for me, I think the symbol of the serpent here talks a lot. That energy that you feel inside you, that Kundalini energy. And many times I speak with clients that have it, and especially when the transit is here, they start feeling in the body the awakening. They keep saying, like, my body felt strange this week. Something felt igniting in my body. What is it? And I think there's a huge fuel here for ascension. And all the people I know with 54 are very preoccupied about this elevation and this kind of awakening that energy and getting that energy to another level. How is it from your perspective?
First, I wanted to show what we actually have done now that we have looked at those Capricorn gates. We started it with a 58 that is going to the 18, and then we did a 38 that's going to the 28, and now we're doing the 54 that's going to the 32. So these are all the connections between the root and the spleen. And like you were saying, I'd never thought about it, but it's Libra gates. What I feel with that is that here we have the discernment and here we have the energy. And you need both. You know, if you have just discernment but no energy, nothing can happen. But if you have energy but you don't really have the discernment, are you going to use that energy right? So here, what I feel when the earth element and the air element of Libra, when they meet, they have the whole process. What's also interesting here is that we have collective circuitry, like we're saying, what has been spoiled, how can we do it better, how can we walk into the future in a better way, in a more vital, joyous way. So that's the collective. It's logical, it looks what's been spoiled and it finds a pattern that is better. And then we have the individual circuitry, which is the 38 and the 39, that are like needs to be felt inside the person, an inner knowing that that fight is worth it. It's very individual, it's very personal. So parents that have children that have 38, 39, they cannot like tell the child, don't struggle for that. In 2 years, you're not going to be interested. No, they have to allow the child to exhaust that energy for that purpose. And then maybe there is something else after, but you can never tell anybody in the individual circuitry that's not worth it. And now when we're speaking about the 54 and the 32, that's the tribal circuitry. And it has this feeling of like, I survive, or my survival is the tribe survival. So it has this support keynote where you have principles with the tribe, and it's we together, we that sit around the table, we that touch each other, we that shake hands, we that kiss, we that make babies. Like it's this tribal. And I think that looking at it from a human design sense, I would absolutely say it's tribal, and it has this kind of ladder thing. And here it is. I mean, I think that this image is very much kind of the human design way of seeing it, and a little bit, I would even say, the shadow frequency if we would speak gene keys, because it is climbing the ladder. And what we know from human design is that it's even going to marry somebody's already married if that allows it to climb the ladder. But somehow it's not selfish only. It's like this inbuilt thing that in order for the tribe to survive, in order for us to rise together, I need to do whatever I need to do. That is kind of the tribal way of doing things. What I feel with the gene keys and how my relationship has changed this year, I read a passage from the I think it was the 64 Ways book, and it was saying there are no shortcuts. Like it was speaking about ascension, and an ascension in a way that I felt very, very in tune with, in the sense that for me, ascension is not something that happens in meditation or something that happens like outside here. We are in an earth sign, the Capricorn. It's very much in the body. It's very much how much light, how high frequency I can hold in this form. And the tribal also kind of feels like that. So I know that Ra also spoke about the 54.4 as enlightenment or endarkenment. And I don't think there are any shortcuts. You have, it's every little step, and it's facing everything. And that is kind of what Capricorn can do too, like up the sleeves, and we face everything. And that's the way that we are evolving, that we can hold more light, that we can ascend, if that's the word we want to use.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. It brings new perspectives. I saw that I have a definite attraction for people who have 32. So there's something in this channel of transformation that works for me very well. And my husband has 32, and he brought such interesting perspective. He has a lot of Libra placements. I think for the 54, what Libra brings is this kind of attention to the other too, because 54 can get wrapped up in their own going for success, and 32 and this Libra energy is like, hey, what about me? What about the other? What about relating? And I think at least for me, that's what grounded me more. I was like, oh yeah, it's the tribe, we have to do it for the tribe. So it's a nice energy. And here the mineral associated with it is serpentine. Good for the snake. Good for the inner snake to give it some serpentine. Okay, let's move forward, and we go to 61. 61 has the shadow of psychosis, the gift of inspiration, and the city of sanctity. It has the programming partner of 62, one of the keys that I am really interested in. And it's on the ring of Gaia, quite a mysterious ring. And it makes the channel with 24, which is a Taurus energy. We finally have them together. The 61 and the 24, two earth signs. And it's interesting to put two earth signs in the head and in the Ajna center. Quite something here. What I find was really interesting this year, well, the past year, about 61, Pluto was here. And I think maybe it will still return. Now it's in the 60, but it kept dancing here in the 61. What I like to speak to my clients about, and it kept being a theme that danced, was how tuned people are right now with this energy of the 61. Even if you have it or you don't have it, I think the past year really made all of us conscious of this 61 energy. I think it depends. Some days we might have been in the shadow and completely psychotic and like, oh my God, what is going to happen? And just our mind not stopping. And I know a lot of people who had trouble sleeping or felt something is wrong. They couldn't explain, but maybe it was the shadow of here. And we can also have the gift part, and we have sudden inspiration, and we finally see the light. So I think it was definitely a huge, important transit Capricorn had here, the Pluto in Capricorn had here. So for me, 61 is, I'm amazed by it. When I see people having this channel, I'm like, okay, just talk to me, say something. What do you bring from that universe? I think they have such an interesting way of seeing reality and of creating and of innovating. So this combination for me is pure genius. I like it. This one and the 4323 for me, I would listen to them all day. And it's a very nice, different type of Capricorn energy. I think here we have the Capricorn that is already talking to the divine, already has God by next to him and is like, hey, let's talk about the big stuff.
Actually, I do have this. This is my SQ, and it's also my design node, my south node. So I have that environment, the 61, 62 in my nodal on the design side. I think for me, it is about this connection to the great mystery that's always there. And I think because it's individual circuitry, and I have quite a lot of individual circuitry, it is to know that the great mystery is the same thing as the inner truth, and that there is not an either or. It's kind of my inner channel, like feeling everything, the Kundalini, the serpent that is rising. It's like, it's just part of that thing that continues up or down, in a circulation. So I feel like the 61 gives you that. And then it's interesting what you're saying about the 24, because I was in a relationship with somebody who had a 24 in his SQ, and to have the SQs meeting in that channel together, it was really sweet, because sometimes I feel like we think about both the 61 24 and the 23 43 as kind of, like you say, mental and up there, and they might be ungrounded, but to come together with somebody and have it in the SQ, both of us, it felt really sweet. There is something, with the 24 by itself, sometimes I feel like it's too much ashna and it's too much like going over things, but it actually becomes the mystery that when you combine it with a 61, it's like that mysterious thing, and then the sudden insight that you can actually kind of maybe actually translate a little bit better when you have something further down, like the 24, the 23, the 43. And somehow the only thing that's left is the mystery, or when the mystery dies, the wheel, because if we think about the wheel where we are, the 61 and then the 60, it's like there is something here, like, is the mystery going to die? And then it ends, but the mystery doesn't die. So then we do another spiral in the wheel or something like that. So this was one of the first doors, calling it the mystic in the 64 doors. I'm not sure that this completely represented, but there is something, I think this inner heart, this inner truth, at the end of the day, that's in the core that we can find the truth, and it's still a mystery. That's what I see in the picture.
Thank you. And now I think about all the people I know with 61 and how mystical they are. The mineral associated is sugilit, something like that. It's a very interesting mineral. Try to look it, and I don't find it very often, but when I do, I'm always fascinated. It looks very nice. And the association with the animal, the Black Panther, I think it's a very nice association here. That kind of mysterious force. It used to be my power animal when I was a kid. I was obsessed with the Black Panther. I don't have 61, but maybe there's a transmission there. Okay, let's move forward. Then we'll go to the 60. 60 is the last Capricorn key, and if we'll have time, we'll do the 41 too. So 60 has the shadow of limitation, the gift of realism, and the city of justice. And the programming partner is 56, also a cusp key, like Cancer goes to Leo. It's also on the ring of Gaia, as 61 was, and it makes the channel with the gate 3. It makes the channel of mutation one of the strongest channels there can be. It's really a profound one. I must admit, contemplating the 60, it's now in transit, so we are on this energy now when we're doing the video, and I'm doing a course with one of my best friends about the transmissions in the Capricorn sign, and 60 is definitely a surprise for me. I feel so drawn to this key. It's so dear to me. I'm like, this is a key you can do stuff with. You can do the magic with. I think the gift of realism is quite important, and I feel many times in the spiritual communities it's not there. So I think people having 60 ground us. They are the one who just give us like the context, like the room where evolution can happen. And I'm surrounded by people having 60, and I do appreciate their way of combining spirituality and the realistic part of life. And yeah, I find them a huge inspiration. Even if the channel 60 makes is not with a Libra energy this time. 3 is on the cusp of Aries and Taurus. I find the symbol of justice coming again. So still the Libra is here in a way. The seed is justice, and I don't often work with tarot, but here I felt that the tarot card really, really spoke to me. So if you have a tarot deck, try to pick justice and try to look what it tells you. I think it's a very personal relationship. People that use tarot cards or oracle decks, they have a very personal relationship with the cards. So try to see what journey this one takes you. What do you see in the justice card? I really loved it. Pluto moved here before I was speaking about 61 and the effect it had when Pluto was there. Now Pluto is in 60. So I think it will give us a good a good way of seeing reality. What is true limitation and what is just the limitation of our own minds? Are we really limited? I think the word limitation is not necessarily pleasant. And as we are still in the Capricorn energy, Capricorn sometimes makes us evolve with seeing what we don't like. So maybe here with 60, we see stuff that we don't like. Oh, I'm limited. Oh, I can't express. Oh, I can't move. But is it really? Is it really like that? And it's also, as you are showing, it's also in the root center. So it's also about that drive to evolve and that drive to bring mutation. And it's an individual gate that sometimes has melancholy, sometimes has sadness. And with Pluto here staying quite some time in 60, we can feel more melancholic. We can feel this limitation are just draining for us. But on the other side, the individual gates are here to bring mutation and to bring empowerment. So realism, if we are grounded in what realism and justice mean, I think we'll get stronger and wiser from all this experience. Yep. What's your view on it?
I love everything you said. And like we're seeing here in the wheel, we had Pluto for a long time in the 61. And last year we had Jupiter and Saturn coming together now it's 20, it was in 2020. So it's even longer ago. And then we have had Pluto staying in this energy as the other planets have moved on. So for me, this is something that the collective is totally working through the structures that we are seeing in Capricorn, the limitations, and also the structures that are needed so that we can move beyond them. When the 60 comes in, there is some common sense that we might need, that I think sometimes the 61 doesn't really care about common sense, but the 60 can. What I also think is interesting where we are in the wheel, we have the 19, the 41, the 60, and the 61. These are the keepers of the wheel when we look at the godheads and the mystical way that Ra brought through. So they are holding the wheel together, because many times when we come to the 60, we know that's the last key before the start codon, before the 41, when everything starts again. So here I think also it's the perceived limitation of the form, and in a way the form is going to end, we're all going to die. That's the way it is. And at the same time, it's just an illusion, because the soul or the spirit is always going to live. It's just a form that is, and the soul, the spirit, the personality crystal, whatever way we choose to speak about it, it's not going to die. So there is something here about the illusion of limitation, or the illusion of ending, when actually it's a wheel, and I like to see that it's a spiral. So it's a new spark in the 41. It's a new fuel to experience something more. The same person that I was speaking about before with the 24 in the SQ had 60.6. So the very last key, the very last line of the wheel in the attraction. I could definitely feel like there is something magic with it. I also see that in the low frequency, we have the repressive shadow is unstructured and the other one is rigid. So I could also see sometimes how with everything, we have all the frequency band. So to kind of fall into that, either in structures where actually the 6 doesn't have those containers that it needs in order to grow beyond them, or it becomes really rigid and wants to box things in and don't want to think outside it. Like with all the keys, in the higher frequency, it's quite magic. In the lower frequency, it's quite hard.
60 is a nice one, isn't it? The metal associated with it is iron. And I can think about so many stuff you can make out of iron. So I think it's a great resource, the 60. We can look at it with new eyes, with realistic eyes.
And Adela, one more thing I just think is so interesting, because you were showing me some of the things in the wheel that I never thought about. Like you were saying, the Libra gates and the Capricorn gates are forming harmonic gates. Here I'm thinking the 6 is right before the 41. The 41 is the start codon, and it's the harmonic gate to the 3. And the 3, when we're speaking about the wheel in terms of deconditioning, and even like in terms of where Aries, kind of that Aries energy that's starting off, it's connected. So it feels like endings are always so connected to the start. There's actually it's an illusion that it is like a line between the ending and the beginning, like the ending is the beginning somehow. And I feel the fact that the 60 is so connected to the 41 in the wheel and so connected to the 3 through the body graph, it just kind of makes me smile, and it shows me that.
Yes, so these were the Capricorn keys. I would just shortly like to mention some stuff about 41 without entering right now in the Aquarian realm, because it's a realm of its own. But I think because we are preparing to enter the transit of 41, maybe some information about it will help. 41 goes from the shadow of fantasy to the gift of anticipation and the city of emanation. And I think it's one of the cities I get so many questions about. Like, what is emanation? No one knows. Everyone is here to discover what emanation is. The programming partner is 31, a Leo key. And 41, the very fascinating information about it is that on the ring of origin. It's by itself on the ring of origin. So it's just moving around by itself on the ring of origin. It makes a beautiful channel with the gate 30. So it makes a channel between the root and the emotional. And we have such a beautiful energy of bringing hope here. And, that recognition of what true desire is and what is here to bring new beginnings. It's one of the keys I have 2 times in my profile, 41. So it's very dear to me. It's my radiance and my Mercury, my subconscious Mercury. What I would like to bring in attention with the 41 is this importance of beginnings. And I do remember on the website on Unlock Your Design was the originator. That's very nice kind of mantra to say. I think it's really powerful. So if you have 41, or if you want to connect with the transit, before we give more rational information, I think doing that and connecting with what does the originator mean and how does it feel in your life, for me it was very powerful to realize how that feels in the body. And it's still a root a root gate. It's still in the root center. It's still that pressure to evolve. It's still that pressure of new beginnings. And 41 restarts life and restarts processes. What I felt in my life is that I do have to restart myself, even if I want it or not. If I don't do it consciously, life will do it for me. So I think having 41 is all about renewing the self and life. As I said, it's an Aquarian energy. So I think it's a very different vibration, but we'll speak more about it when we'll do the Aquarian transit.
This looks like emanation.
Yeah.
I also have it. What line do you have your
4? Both
Four.
mine are in 4 line.
So we have the same. We have the
Yay!
same unconscious Mercury. Isn't Richard saying that Mercury on that side has to do in what realm? Like it has to do with how we are coming together and working. So I believe that he's saying that we are going to come together with other people that have the same line in our design Mercury, and we're going to work on that realm. And the realm here is human. And if we are holding this possibility for emanation, I feel like I can feel that in me for sure, and in you too, Adela. Like, we are seeing the human emanation, and I think that we are excited by that. Having the 16 and other things too, it's like making us even more enthusiastic. But definitely, the emanation of the human heart kind of is what I feel with that one. The other thing that I would say with the 41, so it goes from the root center, but instead of pointing towards the spleen, like with what we're looking at before, or the 60 that's pointing upwards, the 41 is pointing towards the emotional center. So it has this fuel to feel, we could say, and kind of knowing that the human experimental way starts with that fuel to feel, connecting to that desire for an experience that we have in the 30. And that's what starts the whole experimental way that leads to the wisdom. And it's also part of the collective, but not in a logical sense, more in this, I need to feel this, I'm ready to feel this. And then it's part of the sensing way of accumulating wisdom and evolving as a collective.
It's one gate or one key that's so dear to my soul. And I know a lot of people who have 41 and who are so tuned in with transformation we are living right now. I think that anticipation, it's like, oh yeah, finally it's happening. So it's, as you showed the image, for me it makes a lot of sense. It's like that connectedness with everything. You just know. I don't know how, but you just know.
I'm thinking here is when you were speaking about the 54 and the 32 before, that kind of looks like leadership, because it's about discerning how to climb the ladder and knowing who to do it with and all that. But there is something with the 41 having a programming partner with the 31, where I feel like this is the leadership that's going to be the leadership of the future, where you just kind of have to think on your feet. You're going to have to be able to anticipate and not be afraid to lead from that place, to not forget that part. And especially again, if you have this either in your activation sequence, you're going to have both the 42 and the 41 and the 31, or if you have it in your nodal environment, you're also going to have both. Then the 41 is even more connected to the leadership. So the 41 we call it the originator, and the 31 we call it the president.
Yes, it's a nice combination. And I think what was helpful for me, maybe it's helpful for other people too, especially for those who are splenic or or sacral. Many times I think 41 sees the future a bit, and the fantasy starts when you start to put stuff in between what you saw and the present moment. It's like maybe you met a person and you don't like them, or you like them very much, and that kind of pure this is it. That's very pure. And then fantasy starts and says like, oh, I shouldn't feel that, maybe they're a nice person, oh, maybe this project will be good. And then 41 puts that fantasy in and they end the situation, and it's like, oh, but I knew it from the start, I shouldn't have done that. So I think it's the anticipation of 41, because it's in the root center. It's nothing super crown like. It's sometimes it can be very gutty, or very just don't do it and no other explanation, or just do it and no other explanation. So yeah, just look a bit at the fantasy of putting something in a space that has nothing created. I think that as you said, the originator, that uncreated space is vital for the 41. That space where you don't know how stuff will happen. You just sense the direction in a way. Yes, and the mineral here is Celestine, and I think that's an interesting way to finish our conversation. If you haven't read the book, maybe you will read the prophecies from Celestine and see what you feel. I think it's a very 41 like book.
So funny. I re-listened to it last week. Very funny.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you for listening to us. Thank you, Bella, for doing this with me, and meet you again in the Aquarian season.